Well, despite the heat, it's football time. Day 2 of SEC Media Days in Hoover. Butch Jones of Tennessee was one of the headliners. The Vols haven't beaten rival Alabama in 8 years. WIAT 42 sports anchor Lauren Sisler is live with us tonight. South Carolina's head ball coach also made his return. Hey, Lauren.
Hey, Jim. Yeah, what would SEC Media Days be like without Steve Spurrier? He is always the hot topic at SEC Media Days, always wondering what the old ball coach is going to say. Well, this year he set another record, 23 straight consecutive SEC Media Days for Steve Spurrier. And for him, some hot topics, including last year's 7-6 season. To most coaches in the SEC, 7-6 would be subpar. But to the old ball coach, he reminds us it's the SEC, and ending that way with 4 consecutive bowl wins, not bad.
All I've been trying to tell people is that we were a happy bunch of Gamecocks to finish that year 7-6. If people think we're in the tank and all disappointed, they're wrong. We didn't have a stronger team as we've had the last 3 or 4 years there, and maybe that was the best we could do.
Hey, speaking of being in the tank, lots of talk coming out of 2014 on Spurrier considering retirement. Well, today he reassured us he still has several years left in that tank. Now, coming up later on in sports, we'll hear from Coach Spurrier about his quarterback battle. Plus, we'll hear from the Texas A&M Aggies. We'll send it back over to you.
All right, Lauren, thanks a lot. Be sure to tune in tonight for our...
You're watching WIAT CBS 42 News.
Have you seen these shoes? They're called Yeezys. Mississippi State head coach Dan Mullen was rocking these at SEC Media Days this afternoon, and believe it or not, his players, they're pretty jealous of his style. And I have to say, if my head coach had a better shoe collection than me, I'd be pretty jealous as well. Now, Steve Spurrier, his players say that for being 70 years old, he's got a pretty good style as well. But the old ball coach tells us that you don't have to have a franchise-style quarterback to run a successful college football program.
In college, you don't need that franchise quarterback like the pro teams. The pro teams, almost all of them zip through the playoffs. They got the guy that's been there a long time and what they call their franchise quarterbacks. But in college, you can win without maybe a top-notch guy completely.
Now, a quarterback battle ensues in Columbia, but their kicker, he's already in place. Elliott Fry has an incredible personal story. Melissa Kim is going to tell us more about that coming up tonight at 10. But first, she goes inside the SEC, the landscape of the SEC, with CBS analyst Gary Danielson.
Coach Saban, a defensive-minded guy, and even he kind of went to that spread offense last season, something he's kind of been spoken out against. Are you surprised at that?
No, it fit what he had personnel-wise. I think it was probably the right strategy for what he had to do. But I did see his comments in the offseason that nobody really feared us anymore. We did not beat up teams. We kind of tried to do a little bit too much fancy stuff. I think you'll see a recommitment to playing tackle-to-tackle football and using their dominant inside players as well as their fringe players.
What's your favorite moment that you can think of with Vern?
Wow. You know, it happens so much. It's just that, you know, how the fans love Vern. You know, I mean, we all make mistakes on air, but Vern is our guy. He's the SEC's guy, and I think his love of SEC football translates on the field, and I think the fans' interaction with him everywhere, whether he's having dinner or walking to the game, it's really fun to see.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Danielson. Again, you can catch Gary Danielson with Vern Lundquist on Saturdays on the SEC on CBS.
Thanks, Melissa and Gary. Now, Alabama and Auburn both travel to Texas A&M this year, and will have to play in a newly renovated Kyle Field that now houses more than 102,000 fans. In the words of Aggies head coach Kevin Sumlin, enough said.
You're at a place, at a university that cares. You have fans that care. You have a fan base that cares. And when you're only one of only 2 teams that average over 105,000 fans a game, that tells you all you need to know.
The 12th man known to get rowdy, but I expect nothing less from the Tennessee Vols either as they try and emerge as an SEC East contender. All sorts of ground to cover here at SEC Media Days. We've got plenty more coming up at 6 o'clock. You're watching WIAT 42 News with coverage you can count on.
Interesting day. We've also reached the halfway mark at SEC Football Media Days with Steve Spurrier and Alabama rival Butch Jones of Tennessee in town. Lauren Sisler is live out in Hoover. Lauren, 7 teams down, 7 teams to go.
That is right, Jim. We are at the halfway mark. Always exciting. Now, a lot of people always come into SEC Media Days wanting to talk to South Carolina head coach Steve Spurrier. I, however, as we talked about before, really enjoy talking to Dan Mullen. Mississippi State head coach Dan Mullen always gives us great quotes. And check it out, he's got some pretty sweet sneakers as well. Now, last year the Bulldogs were once ranked #1 in the country, but lost 3 of their last 4 games. The way it ended fuels this team heading into the upcoming season.
We just try to focus on finishing strong in every drill and also every practice. So finishing strong, and we don't hear a lot about our wins because I mean that doesn't make us. It's what you do after the loss, and obviously we did a poor job of rebounding from those losses.
Good news for the Bulldogs, and something Coach Mullen considers a luxury. His star quarterback Dak Prescott returns to the field for his senior season. Coming up later in sports, Melissa Kim will talk to Dak Prescott and talk about his return and why he decided to come back to Mississippi State. Jim, I'll send it back over to you.
All right, Lauren, thanks a lot. Still to come at 6. It's something.
You're watching WIAT CBS 42 News.
Well, it's Hoover that's the center of the college football world and SEC football this week.
That's where we find Lauren Sisler outside the Winfrey Hotel with a recap of SEC Media Days Part 2, Lauren.
Yeah, guys, this is something I look forward to every year. It's an opportunity to soak in all the knowledge that you can get about the upcoming SEC football season. But it's also a chance to learn some latest fashion trends. As we could see earlier today, guys, listen up. Dan Mullen rocking the sweet kicks. They're called Yeezys, and it's all part of fitting in with the cool kids, like his star quarterback Dak Prescott, who decided to return for his senior season. Melissa Kim did a little walk and talk with him inside.
We are here with Mississippi State quarterback Dak Prescott, and first of all, I know you guys are talking a lot about style.
Right.
You guys seem to be one of the best dressed teams here today. I was very impressed with Coach Mullen's kicks. A little jealous of his shoes, not going to lie.
Right.
So who do you think the best dressed here was today?
Definitely myself. Ryan Brown, my man right here. Come on now, he did a great job. I love the black, the no socks with the loafers.
He did.
The maroon, the pocket square there that puts it all together, the white and the black. He did a good job. But Coach Mullen with the Yeezys, he set the tone, and we just fell into place behind him.
Having experience as a quarterback in the SEC is so important. You obviously have that. Do you think that gives you somewhat of an advantage over other guys that haven't started or had playing time yet?
Oh yeah, definitely. Having that experience, the game is so mental, and knowing what's going on, knowing what the defense has to offer. So when you've seen a lot of snaps, you've been under the center a lot in the SEC. It gives you an advantage, and that experience helps me versus the guys who haven't seen the speed. And the size in the SEC.
Thanks so much, guys. It's Dak Prescott, Ryan Brown, and Taviz Calhoun over here from Mississippi State.
All right, thanks, Melissa. And highlighting day 2 of SEC Media Days, also Tennessee head coach Butch Jones. And Butch Jones, they had a strong season and a strong finish to their season last year, but Tennessee wants more than a 7-6 season. After that strong finish under Joshua Dobbs, Jones thinks his team can prove themselves in the East. But over in a land out west, there's a team called Alabama. Yeah, a team that the Vols haven't knocked off in 8 years.
That's a big game, but they're all big games, but that game means a lot to a lot of people, and we understand that. It's our job to get back to trying to make those games relevant, and being competitive with them. I thought last year was a step in the right direction, but we expect to win every time we step on the football field. It doesn't matter who our opponent is.
Media Days always a good for a few jabs. Steve Spurrier took a jab at Tennessee on his comments about celebrating a 7-6 season. Butch Jones fired right back at him. We'll be back up later tonight on our SEC Media Days Red Zone edition. Join us again tonight on WIAT 42 at 10:15. I'll be joining Jim back in the studio. Melissa Kim will be here with all the behind-the-scenes interview. Guys, I'll see you back there in a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Lauren. A lot to talk about.